Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey here, once again with another video on Arrow Season 6. So San Diego Comic-Con has come and gone pretty damn quickly for another year, and I have to say that I am pretty damn happy with what we got when it came to the TVs and movies that at least I'm interested in. Now, as I said in my trailer breakdowns for the various DC TV shows over the weekend, I would be going over some stuff that was either revealed or discussed upon in the panels in their, own videos, just so I can go more in depth with them, and not having to cram and rush them in one video or making like a 3-hour video going over them all, if you know what I mean. Just to keep it as clean and as simple as possible. The Arrow Season 6 panel actually had a few decent announcements, one of which involves Deathstroke, but we will jump into that shortly. I will tell you a big thing they announced though, as I did a video on it only a few days ago where I really covered all that needed to be said on the topic, so I didn't want to repeat myself just for the sake of it. And that was actually the reveal of a villain for Season 6, possibly the big bad. They didn't specify if it was. You would have to think it is though, just because this dude is quite like a shredder, mower, badass, whatever you want to call him. And that is Richard Dragon. Now the big thing is that they announced him, but they didn't say who's going to play him. So this, sort of hints that he's not going to be showing up, for at least, the first 5 episodes at least. Or he might be hinted at, but he won't show up. So his casting will most likely be announced shortly in the next couple of weeks. But we just don't know who's going to play him now. But he's probably going to be like a Hispanic actor, like pretty ripped. They did release like a casting thing. I did a whole video on it. So I will link it in the description below if you do want to check it out. So yeah, I really go over everything that needs to be gone over, if that makes sense, about Richard Dragon in the video. So if you're interested, the link will be in the description below. But anyway, back to the topic at hand, and that is a cool reveal involving Deathstroke and something we will get involving him at some point in Season 6. So a question was brought up at the Arrow Season 6 panel on Flashbacks and whether or not they would feature in Season 6. I will show you a video in a second of Mark Guggenheim, who's one of the executive producers, going over the topic. But to just go more in depth with that question, we won't be getting them every episode. There won't be a flashback story, if you want to call it that, like in Seasons 1 to 5, where we followed Oliver from the shipwreck to getting back to Star City. We will get some character-based flashbacks throughout the season, similar to what we've seen in previous seasons with characters such as Deadshot, Felicity, Laurel, and Diggle. But let's actually watch that clip now from the panel. I will leave the link to the actual provider of the clip, who is Flicks in the City. They've uploaded all the panels and stuff from everything you would want from Comic-Con. So yeah, go check out that channel as well as that video, and I'm sure there's going to be multiple videos you would want to watch over there. So yeah, how awesome is that news? I'm pretty sure 99.9% of us were extremely excited last season when we heard that Manu Bennett would be back for the end of Season 5. And if you have watched the trailer for Comic-Con for Season 6, which I hope most of you have, because if you haven't, like, what the hell are you doing with your life? Anyway, in that trailer we see Deathstroke will survive the explosion on Lian, and also sort of be on Oliver's good side and be back to the open world. He is free now. I'm not too sure what Argus would think of that, but maybe Oliver strikes up a deal with Argus because they sort of stuffed up and let Adrian Chase loose. So as Guggenheim did say, we will see Slade Wilson come back again at some point in the opening half of this season for a 2-episode story involving him, which will include Deathstroke-centric flashbacks. Now in regards to what episodes this could be, I would say maybe like 5 and 6 or maybe 6 and 7, just because usually episode 8 is the crossover. They didn't really say anything about the crossover, whether it's going to happen on the episode 8s of all the shows again. We'll have to wait and see, but you would have to presume it's going to happen then. So with this 2-story Deathstroke, or 2-episode Deathstroke story, might I say, you would have to say like episode 5 and 6, or maybe 6 and 7, something like that. But what it sounds like will be going down is that Slade will be teaming up with Oliver again over 2 episodes, whether it be that Slade needs Oliver's help or the other way around, so Oliver needs Slade's help. And then throughout that 2-episode story with Slade, we will get Deathstroke-centric flashbacks. In regards to the present day story with Slade in that 2-episode story, my guess for what he could need Oliver's help for may revolve around his son, Joe. I think this could work extremely well for this 2-episode story, seeing that Oliver will be learning the basics of fatherhood with William himself this season as well. And at the end of last season, Oliver gives intel on Slade's son Joe as like a bargaining chip for his help in taking down Adrian Chase. For those that don't know, the reason why it might be sort of difficult for Slade to find his son could come down to the fact that he is probably in government protection or like witness protection back in Australia. And this is what I think the flashbacks will be, like connecting when we last saw Slade in the season 2 flashbacks and how he properly became Deathstroke in what we saw, you know, around the middle of season 2 when he comes back to Star City. So it is essentially a Deathstroke origin story, so how cool is that? I think this flashback story with Deathstroke will loosely follow the events played out in the Arrowverse novel called Arrow Vengeance. Now this novel does cover a few characters, but in regards to Slade, it covers that gap I was speaking about before from like the end of season 2 flashbacks to when we sort of roughly first meet him in present day in season 2. Now this novel is not considered canon within the universe. It's like a novelization, like a lot of things that are like novelized and stuff aren't considered canon. Like they actually do have similar scenes or the exact same scenes that play out in the show, but like the dialogue is different. Like it's similar, but it's different, if you know what I mean. But they could still use it as like inspiration because I think this story is pretty good and I think it'd be pretty cool to actually see it happen on screen. Now I don't want to spoil too much of what could go down or, you know, who could possibly show up in these flashbacks because there is actually some characters who you know of who could show up. But it is really just Slade trying to return back to a normal life back in Australia with his family. But due to his obsession with trying to get vengeance, I guess, like the book's called Arrow Vengeance, so I guess he could be trying to get vengeance or revenge on Oliver Queen, that really just prevents him from getting back to a normal life and eventually leads him down the road to Deathstroke. One thing I need to mention because it does relate to why his son would be so hard to find is that his wife is actually killed due to Slade's obsession. Like Slade doesn't kill her himself, but due to what he's doing and his obsession with Oliver Queen, it sort of leads to her death. And I do feel that would have happened in the Arrowverse and we will see it in the flashbacks if they do go down this story arc. But that's just the story I would go for at least. Like they could do something else in the present day, but I do feel having something to do with Slade's son will have parallels to Oliver's story in season 6. And I think it would just be like really cool to see happen on screen. But in regards to that flashback story, I think that's actually really cool. But no, let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. Do you think that flashback story sounds pretty cool to see? Like they would have to design something that looks like Australia, I guess, because he goes back to Australia, unless they do something where maybe his wife and son had moved over to America and that's where they were living. But I'm pretty sure in season 2 flashbacks they say that they're living in Australia, but we'll have to wait and see what they would do there if they do go down this route for the flashbacks. But in regards to the present day, as I said, it could change. But I think having it like revolving around Slade's son, just because of what they did at the end of season 5 as well, with all that intel, like you would think we would want to see Slade follow up on that. And I think at the end of episode 1 of season 6, we did see them like shaking hands in the trailer. Slade would begin to go off on that journey to try and find his son. They might even hint that his wife is dead in that scene, who knows. But the fact that we are just getting a Deathstroke sort of centric couple of episodes is cool. And Manu Bennett apparently is going to appear more in the season. Like he's not a regular, like he's not back like Katie Cassidy's back or something like that. He's just going to recur. So I think we're going to get him in the premiere, obviously. And then this 2-episode arc. And then maybe towards at the end of the season, he might come back and help Oliver. If Oliver does need the help, depending on what, you know, the forces that Oliver is facing come the end of the season. Because obviously they confirmed Richard Dragon. They've confirmed Michael Emerson, who's from Person of Interest and another show. I can't remember what the other show is. I'm probably going to get crucified that I can't remember the name of it because I think he's most well known from that other show. But he's going to be like a bad guy as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what this villain is. Because I think they said they're doing a group of villains or like a handful of villains that Oliver's going to have to take on. So he might need some help. But he does have a pretty decent Team Arrow at the moment. But he might need Deathstroke's help to just finish off the job and just make sure that the job is done right. But thanks for watching, guys. If you did enjoy the video, it'd be awesome if you could leave a like. As I said, let me know your opinions on this Deathstroke stuff. What do you think of my flashback story that they could do? And what do you think about the present day? Do you think it should involve Slade's son, who should be about 15 or something? He should be like 15, 16, like towards the end of the teenage years. So it will be interesting to see that play out. But let me know if you agree with it, or would you like another present day story, like just Oliver and Slade going off and just, you know, just bashing some people up? Would you rather see that? And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.